إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Shirk, Rukoo, and Sujood. Whoever makes Salah, Sujood, Rukoo to a creation, bowing and prostration to any creation other than Allah in submission, subordination, and surrender, in Ibaadah and in love, has made major shirk. لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر واسجدوا لله الذي خلقهن إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. In Surat Fussilat, verse number, I think it 37. Prostrate yourself not to the sun, to the moon. Prostrate yourself to Allah who created them. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي, Surah Al-An'am. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له لا شريك له. When they asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, shall we prostrate to you? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, ما ينبغي لأحد أن يسجد لأحد. One may not make sujood to anyone else. ما ينبغي لأحد أن يسجد لأحد. Note, we mentioned in matters of worship, whoever dismisses a matter of worship to other than Allah that belongs solely to Allah committed major shirk. We said that in the beginning as definition of shirk. So if one makes sujood to another, that's clear shirk right there. One who makes sujood to another other than Allah, that's clear shirk right there. There's a very important detail. This is one of the matters that I want your undivided attention in it. There's a very important detail many neglect to mention, and you need to know in the difference between Rukoo and Sujood to other than Allah. And actually Qiyam as well, and other matters that follow along in this. It makes a clear distinction for you to know the difference between the two. This is one important matter. You only hear the big ulama mention it, big ulama who master Tawheed. If someone does Rukoo or Sujood as Ibaadah to other than Allah, as Ibaadah, his intention is Ibaadah to other than Allah, committed major shirk and is out of the folds of Islam. If someone does sujood to other than Allah, he committed, pay attention to my wording, if he did sujood to other than Allah, he committed major shirk automatically. If one does Rukoo to other than Allah, it's slightly different. We said, shirk, major shirk is to do a Ibaadah to other than Allah, to dismiss it to other than Allah, that only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sujood is an independent Ibaadah. It's an independent worship outside Salah. We have Sujood al-Tilawa. We have Sujood al-Shukr. So it's outside Salah and independent Ibaadah. Rukoo is only a worship in Salah. There's no Ibaadah in Islam that's called Rukoo outside of Salah. Independent Ibaadah. If one does sujood outside Salah, you see someone do a sujood outside Salah, you're going to say, oh, he's probably doing a Ibaadah of Tilawa, probably passed the verse of Tilawa, recitation, he made sujood, or he probably got some good news, he's doing sujood al-Shukr. So sujood outside of Salah is worship in itself. We have that established. On the other hand, if you see someone comes to us right here in front of me, he does Rukoo outside Salah, he's either crazy or he's an innovator. Because we don't have nothing outside Salah that's Rukoo. There's no Ibaadah. The conclusion is, whoever makes Rukoo for someone other than Allah, he's not considering it Ibaadah, then you can't classify him as a mushrik, because it's not an independent Ibaadah in itself. As long as he doesn't do sujood, because sujood is a ibadah. It's not, rukoo is not a Islamic worship on its own independent, outside of salah. There is no such worship outside of salah called rukoo. And we said shirk is to give a ibadah that belongs to Allah to someone, to dismiss it to someone else. Rukoo is not a ibadah. Someone does rukoo, you call him a mubtada, independent of salah. It's part of a ibadah, but it's not a ibadah, so it's not a ibadah in itself. If someone does rukoo to Allah, no salah, we'll look at him and say, what are you doing? He says, I want to make rukoo to worship Allah. Is he really worshiping? No. He made something totally up, and he's an innovator. There's no rukoo independent of salah. There's no rukoo worship independent of salah, unlike sujood. If he made sujood outside of salah, that's ibadah right there. We know he's making sujood a shukr. We know he's making sujood a tilawa. So sujood is an independent ibadah outside salah. That been established, that sujood is an independent ibadah outside salah. Rukoo is not an independent ibadah outside salah. If one makes sujood to other than Allah, he gave an independent ibadah. He gave a ibadah. We'll call it now for clarification. He gave an independent ibadah. He gave a ibadah. He dismissed it to other than Allah. Then that's major shirk. But if he made rukoo without considering it ibadah, it's not shirk, because rukoo is not ibadah independently. Rukoo is like standing. Same thing applies to standing in salah. Standing is a ibadah in salah. It's a worship in salah. Is standing a worship, independent worship outside salah? No. Can I stand here for 10 minutes and you tell me what are you doing? And not initiate salah, but just stand here, any one of us, and stand for 10 minutes as a ibadah, for the sake of Allah. There's no such thing. That's an innovation. Just like rukoo independently. If people stand for a king or a leader, that's not ibadah, because standing alone is not ibadah. If they intended to be ibadah to a king or to leader, that's a different story then. That's become shirk. Unlike sujood, for example. There's no independent worship of standing for Allah outside of salah. It's not a ibadah. If someone just stands, we say, what are you doing? Are you crazy or are you innovating? There's no such thing as an independent rukoo outside of salah. It's not a ibadah, just mere rukoo. Okay, since standing and rukoo are not independent ibadah, whoever does it for other than Allah is not considered a mushrik unless he intends it as a ibadah. Unlike sujood. Anyone who does sujood to other than Allah is mushrik, because it's an independent ibadah. And it's shirk. It's shirk to dismiss a ibadah to other than Allah. Sujood independently is classified as a ibadah. You dismissed it to other than Allah, that's major shirk. The apparent ruling on one who does sujood to other than Allah is he's a mushrik. Right by the act itself, he's a mushrik. One who bows to a statue, to a king, to a president, sujood, he's a mushrik. The ruling stays on him unless he's excused out of it. The ruling of shirk stays on him unless he gets exempted out of it. For example, he said, I made sujood because I seen that brick over there. I thought that was a sutra. That was the only sutra. Turns out it's a huge statue. Then the shirk is lifted. It was a big, for example, statue, and he seen the bottom of it. He didn't see a big statue. Then the label, the classification of shirk is lifted. to salute someone by standing. Someone comes and you stand for him. Or if it so happens like the Chinese, you know how they bow slightly down, Japanese or Chinese, in somewhat of a ruku'. I'm not saying it's proper. I'm not saying it's right. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum did not stand for the most beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the most beloved man to walk on the face of the earth. Unless it's exceptional, for example, someone sees a brother hasn't seen him for a while and he embraces him. But to make it a tradition that one stands when certain people walk in every single time, habitual, then that's not proper or correct. If I walk in the class, as some people do, they stand up. If it happens, of course that doesn't happen here, then that's not proper. But is it shirk? No. Standing in ruku' is not an independent ibadah outside of salah. So in reality, it's not an ibadah at all. So it's not an act of worship. So no act of worship was dismissed to other than Allah. Now if someone says, I was making ruku' or standing in worship to a king, that's mushrik because of the intention right there. I think it's clear now. In a nutshell, ruku' and standing, mere standing, is not ibadah. Just ruku' and standing is not ibadah outside salah. It's not ibadah. If one did it to another, he's not mushrik unless he intended as a ibadah. Sujood is ibadah outside salah. So one who did it is to other than Allah, dismissed to other than Allah, is mushrik. I'm not saying to stand to other than Allah, nor I'm saying to make ruku', but we're classifying what's shirk and what's not.